What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Coming at you with a new upload today. And for today's purposes, we are going to be going over how to lean out in 2024. This is different from my regular content. This is something I've been asked about quite a bit, so I decided just to do one upload and to refer people to in case I get asked that question again, which I know I will. So for today's upload, we will go over three components of leaning out, or at least how I do it, and that is diet, lifting weights, and walking. Now, before I start on this, I have to profess I'm not a medical professional, nor am I a certified trainer or a dietitian or a nutritionist. I'm simply sharing with you what I've picked over the years and what I've learned through trial and error, okay? And so don't take this advice to heart. I'm not a professional. Make sure to do your own homework and due diligence. And if you do take any of this and implement it, you are responsible for all liabilities, okay? Simply sharing what I think works, at least for me, and hopefully it works for you guys too. All right. So let's get started. The fastest way to lose weight in 2024. Well, first of all, you need to be on a high protein diet consisting of lean meats, mainly chicken breasts and white fishes, preferably cod. Now, the reason you need a high protein diet is because you want to maintain your muscle mass as you lose weight. When you do lose weight and lean out, you're not just burning fat, you're also burning protein, okay? And in effect, you are burning through your muscle tissue. So you need lean proteins. It's easier to go with white meats like chicken breasts without the skin, as well as white fish like cod. And the reason I chose for my own dieting plan chicken breasts and cod is because it's easier to monitor protein intake, and it is also easier to monitor macros and micros. It's very straightforward, it's easy to control. I'm gonna be very honest with you, it is not the tastiest way to go about dieting, but it's effective. It reduces the stress and the friction you would face when it comes to dieting because it's easier to monitor your macros and micros, okay? Now, with respect to how much protein you want to consume, okay? I go between 1.2 grams to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight when I am cutting, which is actually counterintuitive because you would think you want less protein, you actually need more. And here's why. It's because when I am cutting, I'm still emphasizing building my muscle tissue, and I don't want to lose a lot of it. So to preserve my muscle tissue and not lose it along with fat, I jack up my protein by an extra 200 grams to 500 grams over the typical recommended maintenance, which is 1 gram per pound of body weight. And that, generally speaking, helps me with maintaining my muscle tissue and preserving it. Now, I do not consume a lot of red meat, even lean cuts of red meat during this program, or any other red meats like duck, okay? Reason for that is these meats come with a lot of calories in the form of fat, even the leaner cuts. So in duck breast, or in meats, it's gonna be cuts like tenderloin or sirloin, still getting quite a bit of fat. It becomes harder to manage the macros, which we will get into shortly, okay? Now, macro-wise, what I do is I do a split of 50% protein, 30% fat, and 20% carbs, okay? Now, as you notice, I'm pretty low on carbs here in this breakdown. I'm not completely cutting out carbs. This is not a ketosis-based diet where I'm completely eliminating carbs. I still want some carbs in because my energy levels drop down so fast that I still need to take in some form of carbs. And yeah, I still need the carbs for the energy, so I don't enter ketosis, and I do consume quite a high amount of fats. You actually don't need to be scared of taking fats when you're leaning out, and that will tie in shortly. Mainly what happens is if you're giving your body fat and you're actually burning fat, your body does not feel the urge to store it, so it lets go of the fat that you're burning. But also because you're taking in fats through your diet, it actually doesn't hold onto, because you end up conditioning your body to recognize that, hey, it's okay to lose fat because we're getting more fat in. Okay, and you do need fat for a lot of the processes and operations in your body if you wish. Now, 50% protein, that's gonna put me at about 1.2 to 1.5 grams per pound of body weight, even as I cut down the weight on a weekly basis. But you need the high protein, okay, so you don't end up just becoming skinny fat. And also, given that there is a weightlifting component, you most certainly need the protein to repair muscle tissue. Now, with these macros, I generally speaking go for losing a pound of body weight per week, which is a bit advanced. So if you find it a bit hard, start off by making sure you lose a quarter pound to half a pound per week rather than a pound. For me, I'm just optimized to lose a pound a week. It works with my body, it works with the way I burn energy, and we'll get into that shortly. But just something to keep in mind. If you find that a pound a week is a lot, go for a quarter pound or half a pound and see how your body responds to that. So, as I've stated earlier, I eliminate red meats, but I also do eliminate dairy, nuts, and simple and complex carbs. And that's because I don't want insulin spikes with the carbs. And for things like dairy and nuts, it's just a lot of calories with very little fiber. And I try to get most of my fat through other sources, and we'll get into that shortly. For carbs, the only carb sources that I rely on during a cut are fruits and vegetables. So you'd be surprised at how much carbs you're gonna get through fruit and vegetables. You're easily gonna be over 80 grams of carbs a day, just having, about 1/3 of a cup of fruits, different types of fruits and vegetables in one variety in there. And you don't really need to worry about insulin spikes while getting carbs from fruits because of the fiber. Okay, so the fiber actually helps your body get rid of any excess sugar, so you don't really need to worry about that. And no, because you already are leaning out and you are in a calorie deficit, which we'll get into shortly, you're not gonna end up converting that sugar into basically fat. It's all gonna burn. But like I said, in my case, I need the carbs in the form of fruit or vegetables so I can function, because otherwise I just become very dysfunctional. Now, with respect to the fat I typically will get from butter with my eggs in the morning for breakfast, or I'll have a tablespoon of olive oil, or I'm gonna have MCT oil, medium chain triglycerides, in my shake, which is a coconut oil derivative. It's just more usable by your body, but I will get my fats in that sort of way. Also, a lot of my fats are going to come from the proteins I have, like eggs, chicken, or codfish. Okay, you're still getting fat in a chicken breast, even though it's skinless. You're still getting fat in a cod fillet. All right, so let's get into the way that your diet is enhanced to lean out. So one thing I do is that I actually practice intermittent fasting, and I follow a 16-8 split, meaning that I fast for 16 hours and I have an 8-hour window of eating. Now, I've tried doing the fast, the eating window at 2 p.m. and I've tried starting at 9 a.m. for the 8 window. And I found that I got better results at 9 a.m. versus 2 p.m. Because if I start at 9, I wrap up my eating by 5. And believe it or not, I am actually burning through calories before I go to bed. But if I start at 2 p.m. and wrap up at 10, by the time I go to bed, I actually slow down the calorie burn because I'm going to sleep. So I end up with quite a bit of food in my stomach. Now, there's pros and cons to this. The pro of starting at 9 and ending at 5, from my experience, is that you lean out faster and it's much better for leaning out. The con is that if you're like me and you need carbs to sleep and you're having your last meal or your eating window closed by 5, you're actually far away from sleeping time and you're carb deprived, so it makes falling asleep harder. Now, with the 2 to 10 eating window, if you start eating at 2, the pro is that it's convenient. You can start off your day, get work done. You don't have to worry about having meals in the morning. And it's just more convenient because you're pushing your eating later in the day. The con is that it doesn't work as well for leaning out as doing a 9 to 5 window. Okay? And so you gotta pick really what works for you. And personally speaking, I'll sacrifice my sleep for the 9 to 5, at least initially in the program. I don't really recommend that for everybody because you're gonna find out that it does mess with your focus, your energy levels, and your hormone levels. If you do get tested, they're gonna be pretty crushed if your sleep goes out the window. So just something to keep in mind there when you choose your eating windows. Okay, now in order to lose weight, you can use different BMI calculators or weight loss calculators, but generally speaking, 500 calories below your maintenance is what you want to go for. So the average person needs about, let's say, 2,000 to 2,200, depending on who you talk to. There's different numbers, but let's say 2,000 calories, maintenance calories a day, just to function and maintain their body weight. So you would want to cut down your calories by 500 to start losing weight. So you're in a caloric deficit, okay? Meaning that because your body's not getting enough energy through your diet, it starts to burn your fat reserves, okay? And the science around this, from what I understand, my limited understanding anyways, is that your body doesn't necessarily go straight to burning fat. It could go actually to burning, sugar in your bloodstream, sugar stored in your muscles first, sugar, stored pretty much across your body, and then switch to fat, or it could start with fat, then go to sugar. So it really comes down to everybody having a different genetics and physical composition. So with this one, you need to kind of be patient a bit. If you don't see results within the first week or 2 weeks from having a caloric deficit of 500 calories, be a bit patient with it and watch out for your diet. Because the other thing is, if you do attempt to go down in weight quickly, so let's say if 1 pound is too quick or too much for you per week, you actually might find yourself gaining weight, not losing weight. So, and this is a function of just how your body works and your genetics. So just something to be cognizant about is that you need to experiment with it a bit. It's not a fast and solid rule that is just you need to cut 500. You need to see what works for you. But generally speaking, for most people, cutting 500 calories out of your maintenance calories is what's gonna help you lose the weight. Now, in terms of water, you need quite a bit of water when it comes to losing weight. So I drink a gallon of water a day, which is approximately 4 liters of water, and I drink at least 3 to 4 cups of coffee, which, speaking of, I'm having an espresso shot. Now, the water helps with the weight loss. I don't really understand the mechanism so well, so I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know, but I know it does work, at least at some level. It helps your body flush out any toxins. It helps your body stay hydrated. And 4 gallons is, well, 1 gallon, which is 4 liters, is tolerable. However, if you find that you are, not tolerating it, you can cut down the amount of water. And what I would say is start off slowly. So start with 1 liter, build up to 2 liters, 3 liters, and 4 liters, and see how tolerable it is for you. You do want to make sure that while drinking that much water, that you're getting in your sodium and potassium through your diet, or if you're taking some sort of fizzy supplement pills for sodium and potassium to maintain your electrolytes, because when you do drink that much water and sweat at the gym too, you are getting rid of quite a bit of electrolytes, which is not a good thing. You can pretty much die if your electrolytes go down too low. Your heart needs them, your brain needs them, your neurons need them. So just something to watch out for. The coffee, mostly to help with energy levels. When you are losing that much weight and you're leaning out, especially as you get closer to your target where you're super shredded, your energy levels are going to plummet because you don't have carbs or sugar in your diet. Your fat is low, so and you're raising your protein levels as much as you can so your body does not cannibalize your muscles. So you need other sources of energy, and there's different types of energy that you can rely on. So in this case, coffee, because you're getting your adrenaline going, so it's going to wake you up, energize you, and it'll help you go through the day, especially if you have quite a bit of mental work to do. Okay, so as I've said, you aim to lose 1 pound of fat per week. If that is too much, you can pull it down to half a pound or a quarter pound. And there's quite a bit of apps out there that can help you with tracking this, which I can do another upload on later. Like I personally use FitnessPal, and it's been a great app. Helps me track my macros, micros, and my weight loss target. And so that's really what you aim for when it comes to losing weight. And last but not least, on the dieting, I give myself one cheat day during the week. So I'll be on a strict diet and intermittent fasting and caloric deficit for 6 days. And then one day I'll eat whatever I want as long as I'm within my caloric requirements for that day. So let's say if I am at 1700 calories for the day, I don't track the macros, so I don't care anymore for how much protein or fat or carbs I'm getting. For that one day, I'll have whatever I want as long as it is within the caloric requirement for the day. So let's say 2 burgers at 700 calories and 1 medium-sized pizza at 1,000 calories, and I'm done for the day. Now, the reason I do cheat days is twofold. The first being that it's very hard to diet, okay? And you're gonna get eventually tired of eating just eggs, chicken breasts, and cod fillets. So you need to keep things varied just to motivate you and keep you going. So that one day that you will look forward to will really help you a lot on the mental side. Your body doesn't really care as much as it is on the mental. So mentally, having one day to cheat on your diet will help you stay on your diet for the long run, okay? Secondly, something you need to be aware of is that your body is very smart. Okay, so if you try to manipulate your calories and your macros and micros, you can only fool your body for so long. Your body starts to adapt to the new um, diet, and your fat burning effect actually decreases because your body's trying to preserve itself. So it turns down the furnace, and even though you're on a calorie deficit, uh, you actually start to lose your ability to burn fat. So one way to trick the body is to actually just randomly, well, I mean, scheduled randomness, if you wish, give it a cheat day where you feed it high calories. This way, your body goes into shock and doesn't know whether it needs to kick up your furnace to burn calories or lower the furnace down to maintain calories. And what that actually does is that it ends up stimulating your metabolism more, so you actually end up burning more fat because then your body is like, well, okay, I don't need to worry about fat or calories. He's actually giving me, or I'm getting consistently uh, some really high calories, or sort of cheat calories if you wish. So I don't need to slow the metabolism down to self-preserve. Okay? So that's why you need the cheat day. And let me think if there's anything else I need to cover here. That's pretty much at a high level what it takes me to cut down diet-wise. Okay? Now, let's move into lifting weights. For the weightlifting, I do a 6-to-1 split. So I work out 6 days a week and I take 1 day as rest. And that's just typically I'll align that with my cheat day, which tends to be a Saturday. And I need the 6 days a week, mostly because I like working out, but also I get the best results when I spend more time at the gym. I don't really need a lot of rest. My body recovers fairly quickly, so I actually can go to the gym again more frequently. My training system really focuses on low volume and heavy compound lifts. Okay, and this basically is a very efficient way of training where I lift as heavy as I can for the least amount of reps and sets, while also lifting using all, well, predominantly major muscle groups. So I'll focus on things like bench presses, squats, deadlifts. So these are lifts that engage more than one muscle group and allows me to lift as heavy as possible, but also cut down on my time in the gym. So if you look at a lift such as the deadlift, I'm using my back, I'm using my shoulders, I'm using my forearms, my grip, I'm using my glutes, my hamstrings, my quads, I'm using my calves to a certain extent. You engage my neck, you're engaging a lot of muscle groups at the same time. So that's the benefit of having a compound lift. You're getting an express workout for different muscles at the same time. And I lift as heavy as I can. My 1 rep max at the moment is 500 pounds in a deadlift. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to work my muscles, my nervous system, and my mind to the max and as efficiently as possible. And when you're leaning out, it becomes very mentally tough to lift that much of a heavy weight. But if you manage to do it, it improves your mental resilience, okay? But most importantly, the reason you need to lift this heavy when you're leaning out has to do with nitrogen synthesis in your muscle, meaning that it helps with muscle preservation. If you lean out and you're lifting light weights, you're not gonna stimulate muscle growth, so you're gonna end up losing muscle while you're on a caloric deficit, okay? And on a diet. So you have to lift as heavy as you can, okay, while you're dieting. This way you actually lose the fat but also stimulate muscle growth and maintain your muscle. Okay, so at a bare minimum, maintain your muscle tissue. uh, if you're one of those people that are freaks, you're actually gonna grow your muscle while losing weight. Okay, so, and the reason I say low volume, so basically low number of sets, it could be between 1 to 3 sets with a rep range of, let's say, 1 to 6, which is fairly low. If you're lifting that heavy and you're doing proper technique, you do not have to worry about reps. Okay, you're already caloric deprived, you're dieting, you're tired, or as it is, you're mentally fatigued, and you don't really need a lot of the reps, and you won't have the capacity to do it. For 99.9% of people, you will not have the capacity to go for high reps. Okay, you should be focused more on your technique, lifting as heavy as possible, doing compounds to maintain your muscle mass. Now, the other thing about compound lifts versus isolation, so using dumbbells for quite a bit of lifts, is that compounds will stimulate your metabolism. It is a lot of these lifts, like squats, deadlifts, or bench presses, they're hard. They're not easy. Okay, it requires a lot of coordination of different muscle groups, your muscle-mind connection, and requires a lot of energy to move that much weight, especially in a compound form. So you're actually going to end up stimulating your metabolism just from an energy consumption standpoint, but also from a muscle preservation growth standpoint. So your muscles are going to burn more calories because they're being stimulated, as well as just your overall energy intake from trying to move that much weight. Okay, now let's move on to the sort of exercise routines I would use. So I do different variations. I will change my workout on a weekly basis, just one, to keep it engaging and I don't get bored, but two, to shock my body into not guessing what my routine is and end up down regulating my metabolism and progress. So 1 week I'll do push pull workouts, so 1 day push, 1 day pull. Another week I will do opposite muscle groups on the same day, so it would be something along chest and back day, bi and tri day, and then I'll do maybe a shoulder and a leg day, or do each separately because they're not really opposites, but you get the point. And then 1 week I'll do individual body parts. So 1 day it'll be chest, another back, another day is a shoulder, fourth day is a biceps, a third is triceps. Well, I miscounted there, but you get the point. So just keep changing it up just to maintain interest and not get bored, and also to keep the body guessing, right? So this way your body just needs to be fully prepared all the time. All right, the last aspect of this leaning out program is cardio. I hate doing cardio. I absolutely despise running on a treadmill or being on a bicycle. It's just the most boring, mundane stuff you can ever do. And it doesn't matter how good you get at it. Believe it or not, does not translate to real cycling or real running. I've tried that in the past, where I do up to 2 hours on a treadmill, and then I'll go out on the street and I'll gas out after a few minutes. And that has to do with the fact that the belt is doing a lot of the work for you because it helps move your feet. So I don't actually like doing cardio on a treadmill or a bicycle. Instead, what I like doing is going for long walks. You can lose weight walking. As a matter of fact, it is the easiest way to get into a zone 2 cardio state and lose weight. And I'm not talking about a brisk walk. I'm talking about an active, engaged walk where it feels like you're about to kind of run, but you're not running. You're just speed walking. And I'll do that for an hour at least a day when I'm leaning out, preferably 2. I have done it in the past up till 9 hours a day. Yes, you heard me correct. When I did not have a life and I did nothing but work, I walked for 7 to 9 hours. And let me tell you something, walking for that long, you will burn fat and not lose muscle. It's also good for your mental health. I find whenever I'm stuck on something or having a hard day, I'll just drop everything and go for a walk. Somehow, magically, it clears my mind. Everything just becomes so obvious and easier after a walk. So, two benefits here: improve your mental health and shed the weight off. Now, if you don't want to spend an hour a day walking, which I mean is understandable, one way to speed up the process is by using a weighted vest or a rucksack. Okay? And what the weighted vest and the rucksack will do is that they will get your heart rate up, because not only are you walking, but you're technically carrying extra body weight. And you will notice that when you start off with a rucksack or a weighted vest, your heart rate goes up, which is basically your metabolism is kicking in, so you're burning more calories, okay? Because your body assumes it's carrying more weight than it really is, so it tricks your brain into burning more energy. And that can take your time down to half an hour to 20 or 15 minutes, depending on how long you want to do it. But generally speaking, I find that walking is very effective for losing weight. You don't need to spend time on a boring treadmill or a bicycle. I mean, if that's your thing, knock yourself out. For me personally, I just don't enjoy it. I like walking much more. I like being out in nature. I like just running into people, going grabbing a coffee, listening to a podcast as I walk. And that works for me. So that would be it, you guys. So that is the trifecta of quickly losing weight in 2024. One more thing I'm gonna say is that depending on your how many pounds you want to lose, try to do it over a 6-month period. Do not drop weight quickly. You're gonna end up becoming skinny fat. You're gonna mess up with your hormones. It's gonna mess up your sleep. It's gonna mess up your energy level, especially if you're doing this for the first time. Just take it a bit slow. Aim for 6 months. Don't rush it. There's programs out there that, or people that will recommend you can do it within 90 days, so 3 months. I just find that to be too aggressive, even for me, somebody that's been around the weights and dieting for decades now. 6 months I find is the healthiest way to do it, where you are putting on lean muscle mass tissue and losing fat while not losing quite a bit of that muscle. And so that would be the trifecta. I haven't gotten into supplements here. Maybe I'll do another upload separately on what supplements to take and the purpose of taking them while dieting and losing weight, and at what stages you would introduce these supplements. So maybe that will be the next upload. We'll see. I'll re-emphasize again, these are just some of the things that have worked for me. They're not meant to be professional advice. If you do decide to follow any of that information, you do it at your own risk, okay? And you're liable for anything that could go wrong. I try to be as transparent as possible here, but make sure to consult a physician or a nutritionist or a dietitian or a personal trainer if you do not know what you're doing, or if any of this is new to you, okay? I basically trialed and errored a lot of this stuff, read a few research papers, listened mostly to YouTube videos and podcasts, and this is just what worked for me. Hopefully, if you do attempt some of the stuff I've mentioned here, it will work for you. But again, please do not take this as professional advice. It is not. It's a gym bro advice. Just bringing it to your awareness in case you do decide to research it more or do more due diligence before you decide to follow any of this. Okay? So, with that said, you guys, I hope this was helpful, and that'll be it for this upload. As per usual, I very much appreciate your time and attention, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.